My name is Pam, Pamela Gill Tukuingoa, ko Tiaitanga Hauati, Raua ko Ngāti Parau, Ngā Iwi. Lived in Tāmaki Makaurau for many years now, and I've been really blessed to work here on this project Twin Streams, for about 10 years now. And so it's kind of been interesting. It's this project, it started many years ago, and probably the 90s we were starting to think about it, and they wanted to do some developing in the Oratia area, and this is Waitakere City Council and the Auckland Regional Council, so the ARC at that time, said, well, you want to do some developing there, we're really concerned about sedimentation, so erosion. There's flooding up through the valley, and there probably still is, and so we'd like you to think about doing some work on the catchment before you do this development. And so Waitakere City, being the eco-city that it was at that time, decided that they'd like to do things differently. And they were very fortunate to get some money from the Ports of Auckland. So we're talking $50 million actually, to put it in context, which is a load of money. And that was a moment in time, and they said, and they applied for that, and they said, we want to do it differently. We don't want to just get contractors in to restore the stream sides. We actually want to include the community in this. So I work for a community organisation, Eco Matters Environment Trust. We're based in New Lynn. And my role really is about working with community to understand what some of the issues are on our streams. And so I've just been to Olympic Park, sussing out what we're going to do tomorrow, so I work over there as well, in the faux catchment, but I've worked over this area for many years, specifically Glen Eden, and so yeah, that's what happened with Waitakere City. They did get this money. A lot of the money was actually spent on buying up properties that were in the floodplain. Funny that, you know, they put these, they allow these houses to be built in floodplains, and then they get really concerned when it floods. And so, you know, you guys are probably aware of some of that kind of stuff. Actually, a lot of pressure in our urban environments, on our streamside areas, because if you imagine the more houses that we have all joined together, so if all of those turn into apartments, right, and that's what's happening all over Auckland, and all their roofs are connected and they've got all these paths, when it rains, that rain has to go somewhere, and so it goes onto stormwater drains everywhere. And you know, the drains coming off our roof, and they all come into our streams. Some people think, oh, they're going to some treatment plant. They're not. Okay, stormwater comes straight into our streams. So you can imagine the pressure on it if they're not well designed. And there's lots of examples of places where it's not well designed, where you've got a stormwater pipe coming out into a little stream, which is essentially water blasting the other side of the stream in heavy rain flows. And that's actually quite common. I encourage you in heavy rains to go for a walk and see what's happening. You know, like I said, I was at Olympic Park today, and I ran into a guy who actually lives in his van around that area. He's a lovely guy, and he was like, oh Pam, I came down here in heavy rain, you wouldn't believe how high that got. And I was like, well, I would actually, because I can see the rubbish up on the trees, so I know how high it got. So I'll go back to Project Twin Streams. It was one of the largest urban stream restoration projects in the country. We were attempting to restore 55 kilometres of streamside, and yeah, that's no mean feat in an urban environment. And you know, people might think, oh, you plant out an area and then you can walk away. But if you guys are gardeners, actually the most important thing is the prep and the follow-up. And the follow-up can be years of follow-up, particularly when you're surrounded by weeds all around you. So some of the weeds we get here are Taiwan cherry, Chinese privet, tree privet, trad, although I understand the moth plant. Moth plant, we're going to deal to some of that tomorrow. Although I saw the white cottony bits today, it's already burst. I work on a moth plant project in the Faux. I very much hate moth plant, and I'm a water girl and weed hater, environmental weed hater. Drives me nuts. Rubbish. This is the bane of my life. Okay, it really annoys me. This area here, it's just had a name change recently to Okaurirahi. And so Ceramco Park, if anyone is familiar with Ceramco, is anyone familiar with Ceramco?
A little bit.
What can you tell me about it?
Not very much. It was a big company that made industrial pipes and things like that, I think.
Yeah. What was our old pottery company? Crown Lynn.
Yeah.
They took over Crown Lynn.
Right.
And so this was actually a clay pit, and maybe Zane, can you remember it? Nah. Wayne was telling me about it, and
I can remember the other one at Langholm.
Whereabouts?
Where the Steiner School is.
Yep. So this was a big clay pit, and my friend, who is about 58 now, he remembers playing here as a kid and playing down in the stream, but he remembers it being a big clay pit. And then what they did in their lovely wisdom was they got rubbish from the tip and they put it into bags, bales, and they compressed it and they built this lovely playing field. Okay, so that is what happens with lots of sports fields around Auckland. And so it is so interesting. They many years ago we had a community event here, Christmas carnival, lots of people, lots of stalls, it was all great. We went to do it the following year and council went, actually we're really concerned you can't have any electricity out there, because it might be giving off methane and cause an explosion. And so then I'm often here, they're monitoring the air quality, they're monitoring the stream, and we have done so much planting here, right? They're suddenly saying to us, actually we don't think you should be planting there with volunteers. Because of the potential hazard with asbestos and it's like, it is so hard. There's lots of stuff around health and safety, and I was just having a talk with my council colleague today, and I said, look, we did a stream clean up over in New Lynn, and but I'd been told by the council officer there that if we found any asbestos, we had to not touch it and we had to mark it off and call it in. Well, we saw it kind of in the middle of the stream bed, and my volunteer wanted to take it, and I was like, we're not allowed to. And so there was this whole dilemma, and so I have not felt good about it for the past month. And I talked about it with this colleague, and she said to me, well, Pam, if you like, I could get you asbestos training. Because I said, surely I could put some gloves on. It was wet, there's no dust, and carefully put it somewhere where council could come and pick it up. And she said, no, you need asbestos training, you need hazard mask, double gloves, double bag. It's all a major, which I'm good with health and safety. I mean, my volunteer was 75, and he really I actually feel guilty about not letting him pick it up. And like he's like, Pam, I'm 75, I'm good, you know. anyway, there you go. There's a little bit of history about this place, and so we've had. As I said, it's now called Okaurirahi Ceramco Park, but I prefer Okaurirahi because I love supporting Māori ingoa. And so rahi actually means, I think, like side, but according to this, Okaurirahi, and it refers to a large kauri that was in this area. And so the road just over there is called Kaurilands Road. And I remember coming here when I was really young and going to a property that had really large kauri. And so anyway, this was a place, it was a kauri forest. And so yeah, I love mentioning that it was Okaurirahi. The mana whenua from this area are Te Waikumete, and they have a large rohi. It goes through to the Waitakere ranges. There's other iwi that also have ties around these areas, but particularly Te Waikumete.